Ubuntu is a word that comes from South Africa, and it means a person is a person through other people. And I discovered Ubuntu when apartheid ended, which was around 1988, when I was 18 years old. And so I grew up under apartheid, and apartheid means separation. So everything was separated, where you lived, where you went to school, where you worked, even shop entrances, which buses you could use. And it wasn't an equal separation. Now, what was very interesting is I feel that I discovered Ubuntu long before I heard about it, because there were occasions that I went into the townships, and on these occasions I was struck at how welcomed I was as usually the only white person around. And people had very little food, very little money, but they were really willing to share everything they had with you and be very welcoming. And there was always, a sense of creativity around. The African people who I met were, there was always kind of music and dance about to happen. It always felt like that, and then it would happen. So singing and dancing were so intricate to the culture. And I feel that was a part of Ubuntu as well. But I really learned something from this, because white people had all the money and all the power, but they had very little in terms of happiness, and they had a lot of fear, a lot of addictive problems. Keeping this whole lie going of separation took a lot of energy, and it had a great human cost. Whereas the African people, I realised, had something of endless value, this word for it is Ubuntu, which is the spirit of togetherness, a happiness that comes from deep connection with other people. And I feel that as Europeans, I feel that actually Ubuntu is a natural human state, but we've moved away from it. And some of the things that have moved us away from that are nationalism, consumerism. So all these kind of false ideas we have about ourselves and our connection with each other. But in Britain, for example, if you look at the war years, or if you look at times of the strikes, the miners' strikes, for example, you can see a huge sense of community strength and the sacrifices that people were willing to make for each other. And it's only really with the advent of consumerism and individualism, it seems to be at its absolute peak, that humanity has lost its way. And it feels like, we're sort of like children in a sweet shop, and we've had this excess, kind of poisoning ourselves on excess. And just coming to the realization that it's actually not very fulfilling as human beings. And I worked in a hospice, and at the end of people's days, really what mattered the most and does matter is your human relationships. What you have acquired in terms of goods, your family may even be fighting over it. It may cause huge ructions in your family, the whole consumer idea taken to the next level. And even what you've achieved isn't nearly as important as these bonds of love. So Ubuntu's a wonderful philosophy, and it really helps us make central to our lives the bonds of love. So I'm sending that out into the world today, this wonderful African philosophy of absolute pure wisdom.